I love this story because it's representative of how politics works. So it's about student loans. Now, the student loan issue in this country is enormous. Did you know that the outstanding student loan debt right now is $1.2 trillion? That's a giant amount of debt. And what's interesting is when students get loans to pay off their education, they're actually getting it from the government. And the government is charging them a rate that is higher than the money they pay to borrow the money in the first place. So the United States government oftentimes borrows the money and then lends it out to the students. And in the middle, they make a profit. They charge more to the students, more to the parents. And if you're a graduate student, you get charged more than if you're an undergraduate student. So in the middle, they make their profit. You know how much they're going to make in profit this year off of students? The U.S. government is going to record an estimated $51 billion profit, okay? Now, the reality is, if they care about the students and they want to provide them opportunity, you don't have to make any profit. You can just simply take the loans at the same rate that you borrow at and give it to the students. In fact, there is such a proposal. Elizabeth Warren, who's a senator from Massachusetts, said, you know, the government often takes money and then lends it out to the banks at an incredibly low rate, oftentimes under 1%. So if it's good enough for the banks, why not good enough for the American students? Let's lend the students at the same rate so they have the same opportunity as the giant banks in this country. And of course, people are like, no way, of course we're not going to do that, right? No, we're going to continue to make that $51 billion off the backs of the students. Now, the rate is a little over 3% right now, and it's set to double in July, and we're already in July, right? So there was a bit of a panic. The doubling is too much. People were going to really get mad. So they decided, well, we can't do Warren's suggestion because that would actually help students too much. So instead, we're going to do a bipartisan compromise. Uh-oh. When they do a bipartisan compromise, that means usually the Republicans got most of what they want, and the Democrats pretended to fight it, and then they actually gave in, and the Republicans got their plan. And in fact, of course, that's what happened. They didn't go with the Warren proposal. They went with a variable interest rate. Now, what does that mean? So in the short run, since interest rates are low, and since it's variable and it fluctuates with the current interest rates, your loans, what it does is it actually means a lower payment for you for the moment being. But then afterwards, in about 2 years, the rates are, according to all estimates, whether it's the Congressional Budget Office or a collection of the top economic experts, say the rates will very likely go up and be higher than they are now. In fact, over a 10-year period, students will pay more under this new bipartisan compromise that's supposed to solve the problem, that was supposed to lower your rates, that was supposed to give more of your money back to you. No, over 10 years, it actually takes $715 million more from you. So it goes to the Education Department profit, and where does that profit come from? Straight out of your pockets. You'll pay more, $715 million more in aggregate over 10 years. So now, why does President Obama want to do this? Now, he's supposed to be a progressive, he's supposed to be a Democrat, and he was supposed to fight for the students. And of course, the students turned out for him in droves in 2008 and 2012. So why is he having the students pay more? Because this is how politics works. It's a win-win-win-win for him. How so? While he's in office, he says, oh, in the next couple of years, your rates are lower. I get all the credit. I'm President Obama. See, I lowered your rates while I was in office. Once he leaves office, the actions that he took results in higher rates. Then you can say, oh, I wasn't in office then, man. Oh, look at that. The next guy, I guess, you got higher rates under him. No, but it's your plan right now. That's classic politics. And if you think President Obama's above that, you haven't been paying attention. Now, then you go to the third issue. Then he turns around and says to the Republicans, what are you talking about? I just saved $715 million over 10 years. That's less money that's going to be in our deficit. I lowered the deficit. I got more money into the budget. Now, I did that off the backs of the poor students who are giving me, the American government and the U.S. Department of Education, more money. But so then the Republicans are like, oh, good, we get more money from the students? High five! So President Obama's happy. The Republicans are happy. And then finally, President Obama wants to, according to officials from the White House, wants to move on to the next issue. It's a classic political move. Oh, student loans, I fixed that. Check. Let's move on to the next issue. Historic reform for student loan debts. Everything President Obama does, he says is historic. So now, one of the criticisms of President Obama generally is that he's weak and he can't be strong in getting legislation through because he can't fight the Republicans. But what's interesting here is when it comes to fighting his own side, he's actually very strong. So he's targeted two groups here to make sure that this bill passes, okay? One is Senate Democrats. He would never go after Senate Republicans. Here's a quote from the Huffington Post. Administration officials have told some Senate Democrats that if they don't support the deal and it collapses, President Barack Obama would publicly blame them for allowing borrowing costs to rise for some students, congressional aides said. That's aides that have clear knowledge of the material. Their bosses got warned by the White House. Even though it's a Democratic president, and this bill actually costs more for students, the exact opposite of what Democrats promised, we will not blame the Republicans. Even though the Republicans like this bill, we won't blame them. We'll blame you and say, oh, it was your fault that rates went up. Oh, it's Senate Democrats. Why are you never that tough on Senate Republicans? Because President Obama doesn't care. He's not a progressive. All he cares about is check, 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 mission accomplished, and I get to call things historic. And if I got to agree with 90% of what the Republicans say, who cares? Let's just break a couple of Democratic ankles and make it happen. Now, how about the student groups, the ones that are trying to look out for students? There's huge national organizations. Well, they've been warned too. Now, they're against this bill, or they were against this bill, because it doesn't make sense. It actually costs the students more, right? Well, they've been warned this way. Recipients of the pressure campaign said they felt threatened to back the deal or risk being excluded from future policy discussions. And this is how politics works. You won't get any more invites to the White House. Next time we talk about student issues, well, we won't listen to you at all. We won't even listen to you, the 10% that we did now. We'll just go exactly with what the Republicans want. So do you want another ticket to the White House or don't you? We serve lovely tea and crumpets here, but if you lose your access, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So who does President Obama work for? And do you feel good that you voted for him if you were a student? It's a good question. But we do know that when it comes to politics, the number one thing that politicians care most about is not the people they're representing, it's themselves. So President Obama gets a lot of political victories out of this, and even if it doesn't help students, he gets to move on and say he did historic reform.